Alright, man. We're here today, man, to react to some Jimmy Highroller, the GOAT of basketball, YouTube, some would say. His new video has been out for a week. He says, I've changed my mind on this debate, and I saw for the thumbnail, I think I saw LeBron on the thumbnail. So hopefully it's not the GOAT debate, because, you know, MJ's the GOAT. So, like, we ain't trying to debate that. Like, LeBron, he cool, but...
After years of judging, critiquing, hating on some of your hot takes, today, I'm gonna...
Vince, T-Mac, Pierce, Iverson, and Ray Allen were all better than Kobe. None of them ever averaged 35 for a season. What are we talking about? Kobe in 06, he missed the playoffs, but he averaged 35. Like, what are we doing? Don't forget, man. Don't forget.
I'm gonna share some of mine. It is only fair, after all, that if I put others' opinions...
No, that's crazy.
I'm gonna share some of mine.
This reminds me of the Kendrick Perkins take on LeBron. Like, I don't know if you ever watched this one interview he had where he was talking about how he prayed before the game that they had the next day that LeBron would get injured. Not like a season-ending injury, but just enough to where he wouldn't play for the rest of the series. That's some crazy levels of... That's a crazy hate.
Only fair, after all, that if I put others' opinions up for debate, contention, ridicule, that I do the same for myself. Because like you, I too am just a guy who has a few takes and opinions that I wouldn't dare say out loud in fear of having my ball knowledge put into question.
Recently, Gil's Arena, if you guys know Gilbert Arenas, he was like a basketball player.
But today, I'm gonna do just that. So here are my NBA hot takes.
Oh, so it's hot takes. I wonder why he didn't put that in the title, though.
Today's video is sponsored by Draft.
We skipping this.
When you video, I thought
let's see.
In preparation for this video,
Jamal Curry, I swear, bro, couldn't miss in the playoffs last year.
The opinions I've had over the years about players, teams, eras, opinions that I know are probably subjective and completely false, but I usually try to stay as objective and non-biased as I can. Do my research, refer to film, gather consensus when necessary. But in this video, I'm doing none of that, and instead sharing with y'all 5 of my NBA hot takes. Alright, so my first hot take is kind of hard to admit. I almost don't even want to say it out loud, but I'm going to. Tim Duncan has become overrated. Now, before you bring out the torches, hear me out. When Tim Duncan was playing, there were maybe a few seasons throughout his 19-year career where he was considered the best player in the world. No one ever thought he was better than Shaq in his prime. Many fans...
That's not a fair comparison.
...at the time argued that KG had a higher peak than him, although I would disagree with this. And in the moment, for a good decade or so, you would be in the minority if you thought Tim Duncan was a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant. By the time Duncan retired, he was very underrated. Most fans had him somewhere around 15th, maybe just outside the top 10 greatest players of all time. But miraculously, over the past
behind Moses Malone,
so,
how was Karl Malone in the top 13 in the first place?
To 13 to top 10 to where he probably should be, somewhere around 7 to now all the way within people's
Kobe
top
6,
5, even top 3 players ever. And this isn't just a small community of Tim Duncan advocates pushing this propaganda. I'm seeing Duncan floating anywhere from top 5 to top...
Tim Duncan's second GOAT behind King James. So this person has MJ 3, LeBron 1, Tim Duncan 2. That's a crazy take. For me, it's MJ, Bron, Kareem, Duncan. I mean, I could put Duncan in the top 5. He had a pretty crazy career. He was one fucking Ray Allen 3 off of being 6-0 in the finals. Like, what are we talking about? He was great in every finals except the last one. 2014, he was just average player, but he played great defense.
For a lot of fans these days, even people claiming he may just be the greatest basketball player of all time. Guys, Tim
is not a debate. It's crazy. Like, the GOAT debate is one of the biggest things about basketball.
Duncan was incredible, the best power forward of all time. He is not one of the 5 greatest players ever, let alone the GOAT. And I think what's
I could
probably
argue
happening here is younger, or maybe newer fans of the NBA are looking at his accolades and accomplishments and comparing them side by side to other greats and saying, wow, this
That's a crazy
guy
career.
really did a lot, and his resume is better than just about anyone ever.
I keep
But
pausing.
if you
I
watched Duncan's career
trying to
unfold
see
in real
what else,
time,
man.
you would have felt the impact he had on the league and on the Spurs, but you would have also felt the massive role that the Spurs system and Popovich's coaching excellence played on Duncan. He was unbelievably consistent. He was a defensive juggernaut. He was a leader. But Duncan was also the beneficiary of the most competent organization in the league that prioritized team ball and continuity. From Hall of Fame teammates he played with for the majority of his career to all-time greats that played big roles in helping the Spurs win championships, Duncan was always
He was a
surrounded by
rookie.
winning
I mean, Kawhi was like a rookie that year, or a sophomore when they won, if I'm not mistaken.
culture and winning teammates. This is by no means a knock on him. In fact, he was a big reason why the Spurs were so cohesive. But only in retrospect would you look at his laundry list of accomplishments and neglect all of the details that came with it. For many years, the Spurs as a team and organization were seen as this staple of excellence more than Tim Duncan was as an individual. It wasn't Duncan and the Spurs. It was just the Spurs. They were one and the same, not this pretty good team with a fantastically great player on it. But if you just look at his resume, you wouldn't know that. You could argue Duncan had maybe a top 3 career in NBA history, but as a player, he's just not on the same tier as Jordan or LeBron or Kareem. I don't know how after he retired, he has slowly crept past Shaq and Bird and Russell and
these lists that he's looking at. Pre-retirement, post-retirement. So pre-retirement, he, at least off of these, 6 lists, he was between 8 to 10. And then now, I guess, this year, last year, he moved all the way up to 4 to 5. Which I think can easily be argued for Tim Duncan to be 4 or 5. He had a great career, one of the top 5 greatest defenders, Mr. Fundamental for a reason. He didn't have many flaws on the offensive end. He just didn't take many shots. But he was the system that Greg Popovich, he became the system that Greg Popovich used, I could say, like, because he can't do the same with players afterwards. Like, they might have won. I know when LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan were there, they made it to the playoffs, but they weren't really doing much. Like, they made the playoffs, but no one had any high hopes that they would win the ring or anything. So, like, if you don't have, like, an all-time great player, you're not going to win. It's just how it is. Like, not win the whole thing. Like, you're not going to be a champion with, like, a 6 man of the year. You can't just have Ginobili be the best player on the team and win. Maybe some regular season game, but not, like, a couple playoff series in the finals. I don't know. But I could see him going from 4 to 7 for me, personally. So I don't think this is a bad range for him to be in, from what I can see in the new list.
Even Magic for some people. Duncan is one of my all-time favorite players, but he is not a top 5 player in NBA history.
And it's saying he's not top 5, like, he can't be at all. It's crazy. His resume is insane, and he played amazingly pretty much for, like, from the moment he stepped on the court to about at least 2010, 2011. After about 2010, he started getting worse on the offensive end to a point where he was just not an elite player anymore. Like, he was good or great, but he wasn't elite. But besides that, you know.
Odd to see a player who was so underrated for
guess.
So many years become slightly overrated today. Now, I'd like to think of myself as sort of a board member, an executive within the organization of LeBron fans and Glazers. So this next take pains me to say, but LeBron has sabotaged many good situations throughout his time in the NBA, and his career as a whole has suffered because of it. We all know that LeBron has been held back by some bad front offices, selfish teammates, terrible roster constructions, but
look at this team. Does anybody know any of their names? All I know is what? He had Boobie Gibson on his team. He had Big Z on his team. I don't know if he was this year. Is this 07, I believe? So I don't know. I think Big Z was on that team. They had Mo Williams, I believe. That's the second best scorer. So, like, come on. He wasn't gonna. he should not have made the finals, and especially the way he did, because he beat the Detroit Pistons, who won like a chip a couple years before.
What doesn't get talked about enough is how he has gone out of his way to try to make good situations better and has inadvertently ended up just ruining things for himself in the process. Like in 2014, when he decided to sign with the Cavs instead of staying with the Heat. Why did he do that? Well, we all know why. The Heat were getting old, Wade was past his prime, and the Cavaliers had the cap space and a budding young star in Kyrie Irving to help reel Bron back to Cleveland. This decision eventually led to a championship, but what if he just stayed with the Heat? With Pat Riley and Spoelstra, where there's culture and accountability, I imagine his career would have played out even better considering where the Heat are today. Or what about when the Cavs went to back-to-back finals in 2016 and 2017, but since LeBron didn't feel they had enough to win it all, he orchestrated an entire implosion of their roster, which ended up being vastly worse, and then just left.
Nah, look at that team. This is the year before. K-Love, Korver, Channing Frye, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson. I can't even see the rest of these players, but they all got cut. D-Wade totally washed, no knees, cooked. Kevin Love older, they kept Channing Frye, all of them. Like, I don't even know who that is. You got D Rose washed, Jay Crowder, he just played bad that year. Isaiah Thomas washed, Jeff Green washed. Cedi Osman, he was like a rookie or something. Like, no one expected much from him, and I don't remember this guy's name, this last person's name.
Them again once things were beyond repair. Or most recently, when the Lakers won a championship in 2020, and instead of reloading with the same roster, the Lakers returned with a whole new team just two seasons later.
Crazy.
These decisions do not have.
So okay, but like some of these players were like old though. Like Dwight Howard was super old. I mean, he could still possibly play in the league, but he was old. Like they have Jared Dudley, like he didn't even play on the roster, did he? I don't remember him actually playing. Taylor Horton-Tucker was overrated. They got rid of him, so we see him on the Jazz, I believe, and he is horrible. Like he can't do nothing. I don't know what happened to Avery Bradley. I'm not sure if he retired or not, but he was amazing on the defensive end. Rajon Rondo, of course, would be so helpful for them right now. Actually, they've been playing well. They're like the 8th seed now, but like if they had him in 21 and 22, they would have had a better season those years. Don't remember his name. Yeah, they could use at least one of these dudes. Dwight or JaVale right now would be huge. Because if they had one of them and AD at the power forward, it would be like unstoppable. Kyle Kuzma could be useful here as well, coming off the bench, but they made up for it. They got Rui going crazy, so should be good. Actually, it sucks because if they kept most of these players, they would have at least had a decent run the next year, even if they didn't win the chip. But yeah,
happen without LeBron's okay.
But saying that LeBron made all of them leave is kind of crazy as well. I do, but yeah.
Throughout his career, he has been so quick to want more, want something better, and he can't wait around for it to happen organically, so he tries to force these things to happen. And when it doesn't work out, which it hasn't worked out a lot, the organization, the coaching staff, and even his own teammates end up taking the fall. As great as he is.
I mean, but that's not all LeBron's fault, because the media also paint his teammates horribly when LeBron's not winning, so you can't put everything on LeBron, you know?
LeBron has tried to play GM way too often in his career, and when he can't or he's out of options, he just moves on to the next new shiny thing.
Damn.
If he just stayed with the Heat or stayed with the Cavs or allowed rosters to build chemistry,
if he stayed with the Heat, it would be crazy.
Naturally over time, I think his career and
anything is possible.
Of it would probably be better right now. LeBron has willed his way to some of the greatest feats the sport has ever seen.
It's crazy that he's 40 years old now.
He also sabotaged a lot of good things along the way. Now, here's a hot take for you, and I don't care if I'm wrong. The corner three is not the easiest three-point shot. For years, everyone has said the corner three is easier than any three-pointer, and so there's an advantage to be had there if you use them right. I wholeheartedly disagree. In the NBA, sure, the corner three is short.
Me personally, when I play basketball, when I would shoot from the corner, like it's just, how do I explain it? It's a little rough to gauge distance for me. I remember. I mean, I'm talking about when I played when I was in high school and so on and so forth. It was tough compared to when I like was straight on, especially if I was like in the middle of the court. It was way easier because I would either bank it in or I just could have, it's like a better feel for like where to put the ball, how much power to put in. But then when you're on the corners, I usually just I overshot most of the time. I either hit the other side of the rim from where I'm shooting from, or just airball it. Rarely did I just like swish it from the corner. I mean, that's just me personally, compared to these two sides of the 3-point, like top of the key versus the corner, or the elbows of the 3-point line.
Whether on the wing or at the top of the key. But if you play ball, you know this shot is as scuffed as it gets. When you're looking at the hoop straight on, you just have a wider margin of error.
Exactly, I can
you
like
can
bank
shoot
it in.
long and bank it in. You have a better perception of depth since you're looking at the backboard. It may just be psychological, but whatever it is, you cannot convince me that this shot is easier than this shot.
Well, some people just practice, the corners, because that's what they're like hired to do on the court. Like whatever team they play for, they like told them, this is your job. You play in this corner, you get a perfected shot, and they do that, and then their shots are like more efficient because they're like a specialist, and that corner or the corners are like where they shoot the best or get the most open shot.
According to NBA.com, this season the league as a whole is shooting 39% from corner threes, whereas above the break, teams are shooting 36.1% on average.
Yeah,
now, that's a substantial difference in efficiency from these two different shooting zones, and it would lead you to believe the corner three is easier. But I think shooting percentage is higher on corner threes than threes above the break for two reasons. One, the best shooters in the league, the guys who are on NBA rosters to drill a few threes a game, usually spend the most time in the corner. And since most players who
like the specialists, like see they're showing Klay Thompson,
the overall efficiency from corner
Ray Allen,
is boosted compared to on the wing or at the top of the key. And reason number two, a lot of threes taken above the break are pulled up off of dribbles. Players flying off of screens trying to square up and get a good shot off. And many times the players attempting these kinds of threes are the best player on their team, but not the best shooters.
On the other hand,
corner threes are almost exclusively set shots coming off of passes to a wide open man. The very nature of offenses in the NBA.
Like, look how open he is. Like, that's my point. Like, because Giannis type of player driving in, he's going to either catch a double unless they have a good like defender. So someone's gonna be open, and it's usually the corner because it's the furthest away. So look, Malik Beasley has like all the time in the world to take the shot that he wants.
Makes these corner threes easier than any other threes because plays are often drawn up to get open looks from here from the best shooters in the world, shooting set shots with no one contesting. Corner threes, especially those real deep ones where you feel like you're behind the backboard.
LeBron's been shooting 40% from three this season, which is insane, bro.
Are not easier than any other three-pointer. Now, I know I'm going to catch some flack for this next take, and that's okay, because in a redraft of every player in NBA history just after their rookie season, I would pick Victor Wembanyama first overall. You might say this is just recency bias, you may think I'm crazy, and you're probably right. But Wemby would be my first pick. His progression, his poise, his confidence, his skill set, his potential. If you lined up every great player since the inception of the NBA, and if we're just going off of what we've seen from them in their rookie season, I would pick the kid in San Antonio. Now, my answer may be...
He's been playing so crazy, bro. That one game, he almost had a quadruple double against Joker and the Nuggets. I mean, Jamal Murray wasn't there, but he had, 9 blocks? He was like 7 or 8 assists, I believe, because he was 2 off of I remember recently someone was like he was 2 assists, 1 block off of a quadruple double, and he got like 20 and 10. Yeah, he went 20 and 10 on rebounds and points. Like, he wasn't that efficient, I don't believe, but bro's defense is he's gonna be like he's the DPOI, but they're not gonna give it to him because his team is boo-boo. But yeah, that's
pick anyone before they played in an NBA
game.
And
the rookie of the year is also in the bag. Like, Chet is not like that, bro.
Maybe it's LeBron or Kareem, but based on what we know so far, Give me the 7'4" alien. Wemby can do everything on the court.
He's younger
got
than me
the
doing
offensive
this.
skills, the defensive
NBA.
ability, and willingness. From what has been said about him, he is like a sponge with information. He's learning exceptionally fast on the court. And I think what's just as impressive as his physical tools, the kid is not afraid of the moment. He isn't timid, he can talk trash and take it too. He's got heart, and you can tell he really loves the game. Now, I think some players who are up there with him for the first overall pick in a redraft post-rookie season might be
Victor 21.
Shaq, Kareem,
MJ,
Kareem. Duncan was incredible as a
Jordan,
rookie.
28.
Maybe Hakeem.
Duncan.
Overall, their numbers.
Look at these crazy comparisons that he's getting, bro. He's in the names with, I mean, he's in the group of rookies as Shaq, MJ, Duncan, Olajuwon, and Kareem. They're all like top 10 players of all time.
Are about
Later on, you know, they have amazing careers.
It's impressive.
Like, it's a
But
crazy way to start, you know.
About Victor is that he's doing this at 19, 20 years old on a minutes restriction. He's already an elite two-way player, possibly even the best defensive player in the entire league.
He is the best defensive player of the year in the league. I mean, he has like some minor issues that he could easily fix, but overall, like, his impact on defense is crazy. I remember seeing the metric, like, his team when he's off the court is like the worst defensive in the NBA. Then when he's on the court, they're like top 3. So one person being on the court and off the court flips the team's defense, you know.
And he has the advantage of playing in an era where he is allowed to develop a well-rounded offensive game from the post all the way out to the perimeter, something that Shaq, Hakeem, and Kareem never had. The improvements he's made from his
bang, like who's guarding that? Like, what do you do? He's 7'4".
So massive that his progress alone really makes him stand out even amongst the greatest.
He can dribble too, like,
and quite frankly,
insane.
I never witnessed these other players play
bang.
Seasons.
Jesus.
I wasn't there to see it in real time.
Dirk.
And of all the rookies I have seen over the last 15 years or so, Wembenyama is way ahead of all of them. Is this a terrible argument to make here? Sure. Does that change my pick? No.
I don't think this is a terrible pick. I mean, there's so many greats here, but like, he's playing in the modern NBA with like so many other great talents and like all these new schemes, and he's excelling with the fact that he's supposed to be like very injury prone, being 7'4" and lanky, but he can dribble, he can shoot. I mean, not like it's there, like the foundation is there, like you can see it when he's taking the shot. The confidence just needs to be built up, and you know, more reps, of course. But defense, you won't have to teach him. He's 7'4", and he's defensively minded. Like, he goes on that end 110% every time I see him play. Offense, if his teammates just would give him the damn ball, he would probably be averaging like 25, but his teammates just suck. So, yeah. But yeah, you can have argument for like Shaq or Kareem or Magic or LeBron or someone, or MJ being better than him as a rookie, but I think he's in the argument for being the best rookie I've ever, especially the best rookie I've ever seen, because LeBron was a rookie when I was 1 year old. So, I mean, I guess it's Luka, but I think Wemby's better because his defense is otherworldly compared to like Luka's offense in his rookie.
What we know about these players outside of their first season in the league, and if you had to choose one of them, I think Wemby would go first overall. At least for me, he would. By the time these other players came into the league, they were already relatively polished. Jordan was still pretty raw, and LeBron was playing off of sheer athleticism. But Wemby is having one of the greatest rookie seasons ever, and just by watching him, you can tell he's still just learning how to play in the NBA. So not only is he already incredible, he's just barely scratching the surface of his potential.
Like, they can't stop him. Like, if he goes up, like, there's nothing he can do. But they can stop. If he goes up, it's over. Look, what do they do, man?
Rookie season and their
So
potential
stupid.
and trajectory.
He's blocking Giannis, Jokic, and
No,
everyone.
I don't know if this last take is even a hot one anymore, but it needs to be said. The 2017 Warriors are by far the best NBA team ever. Not just the best.
It's probably one of the
assembled,
Bulls teams that
not
people
the best team
argue.
on paper. They are by a pretty wide margin the best.
What was on that team? So there's KD, Draymond, Steph, Iggy, Clay. I don't know if that's a starting five or not, but that's a crazy starting five, especially in 2017. Even with an older Iggy, he was an amazing defensive player and could hit timely shots. He was a clutch player. Ask Max Kellerman. You'll get your answer. But
cohesive
that team was something, man, and their bench was amazing as well.
Team in NBA history. Over the years, people will argue that
Crazy
the
team.
96 Bulls were
Yeah, I knew it.
or the 2000 Lakers, or if they're really out of their mind, they'll say the 86 Celtics. But no, the 2017 Warriors would dog walk any team you put in front of them. They were so good that it pissed people off. They were so good that everyone unanimously agreed
they
that
were
it wasn't
something
even fair.
crazy.
It's been long enough now that the painful hopelessness that this team inflicted upon NBA fans around the world has subsided. But I'm sure we can all still remember just how overwhelming this team was. They made really good teams look incompetent. I mean, they had everything. Arguably the greatest player in the world at the time, the greatest shooter ever at the peak of his powers, the most versatile defender in the league, arguably the second greatest shooter ever, and somehow still managed to have a very solid, well-rounded bench. And not only did they have the most talent, but all of that talent worked really well together. All of their skill sets and intentions meshed about as well as a team could. So not
This was
only
an era,
were they the
man.
most loaded team in NBA history, they all bought in. And they
I mean,
all just
KD ruined it, the rivalry between Steph and LeBron, but I feel like if LeBron got another year and maybe they made like some trades on the Cavs, especially on the bench, they for sure could have made like a good series against the Warriors, just because LeBron and Kyrie are just exploding on the offensive end, and I think LeBron could cancel out KD and maybe even just beat him out certain games, you know, and Kyrie could beat out Curry certain games, and then it would be a closer series with a better bench. But their overall team, of course, is just going to be worse because the Warriors are just crazy, you know, like Klay Thompson, peak of his powers, Dre. I might be crazy for saying the Cavs take, but hey, LeBron was like that, man. Like this 2017 Warriors, next year you see LeBron go to the 2018 Warriors and drop 50 on them. So like, I mean, it's not the same team because they lose a couple players, but still crazy, you know.
just wanted to win. So I not only think they're the best team ever, I don't even think it's close. Pick any other team to go against them, specifically the 2017 version of the Warriors, and the opposing team would be lucky to sneak 1, maybe 2 wins in a 7-game series. And those are 5 of my NBA hot takes.
That Tim Duncan take is
Didn't alienate
kind of
every
bad in my
NBA
opinion.
fan
I think
throughout
he's
this
top 5.
process. I
He has
just
a
think
chance
it's
to
only
be at
fair
least
that after sitting
argument.
on my high horse and judging everyone else's takes, I share a few of my own. So please go easy on me. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Corner 3 suck, and as always, until next time.
Yeah, man, the NBA, man. Yeah, that's the video, man. Besides the Tim Duncan take, I think I agree. Well, the only thing I disagree with the Tim Duncan take is the fact that he said Tim Duncan can't be top 5, which I disagree with. I think I can argue, and I think other people that like go in depth into these like basketball talks can argue that Tim Duncan had a top 5 career and was a top 5 player because he was like a defensive juggernaut for his whole career pretty much. Even as he was getting old, I would say he was elite on that end. His offense, obviously, he wasn't elite in like the last 4 years, I would say, but probably like 2009, I mean from 1999 to 2009, he was elite on that end too. They didn't score as many points back then, so don't just look at points per game. But his impact was unbelievable. He in 03, in 03, also never forget, he beat Kobe and Shaq with, who did he have as a second best player? It was, I don't even know if Manu Ginobili was there. Maybe Tony Parker was there, scoring like, he was like a rookie. Like, bro beat them and won the finals. I mean, he might have had somebody on his team, but I mean, besides that, I think overall it was a great video. I don't know if they were hot takes. Me personally, I like the Wemby take. He's for sure in the argument for the greatest rookie ever. So yeah, man. Let me know what's up in the comment section down below. Peace out.